Hi, thanks for joining me. I'm going to share with you 5 or 6 exercises that you can use to help improve the stability and mobility through your feet. So let's come up to standing. You'll just see my lower half of my body for this practice. And let's begin by coming into an easy standing pose. Feet about hip distance apart, wherever they feel comfortable. And we'll just start to settle here, feeling into the 3 points of the feet. So sense the center of your heels, whoop, the base of your big toe, and the base of your baby toe, as if each foot is standing on a tripod. And you might notice that as you begin to sense into those 3 points, that the weight might naturally want to settle more into one or another. Just breathe easy while you're standing here. And then maybe you start to notice the weight sinking in towards the inside edges of the feet, or maybe towards the outside edges of the feet. Maybe you feel settled in the heels, or maybe your weight is more towards your toes. You don't need to change anything, but just simply notice what your habit is. I know I'm someone who pronates a little bit. My weight sinks in towards the inside edges of my feet. So let's try this. Bring your hands to the outside of your thighs, just wherever they land. And then pay attention to what happens with your feet as you start to press your legs out into your hands. So your thighs are going to move out into the hands, and notice what happens. If you're not sure, let that relax, release, and then try it again. You might start to have a different experience in terms of how your feet connect with the ground. Your legs might feel like they're a little bit more alive, a little bit more engaged. And so what we're doing is we're changing how our leg bone sits and the legs, or in the hip socket, the leg socket, how our femur bone sits in the hip socket, and then that translates all the way down the legs to our feet. So let's try that a couple more times and see what you notice. You can always hold it and see what that feels like, maintaining an easy breath. And then let that relax. Now, if it feels okay, see what it feels like to bring your knees together, and it's okay to bring your legs a little bit closer. You don't want to strain through the knees. You let the knees come together, and you might feel a little bit more pressure through the inside edges of the feet. And then we're going to start to circle the knees forward. So we're going to bend the knees, and as the knees bend, notice how the weight comes towards the toes. And then over to one side, feel the weight on the outside edge of the outside foot and the inside edge of the opposite, circling back to the heels and then to the outside edge of the foot. So just do some little circles. They can be big or small, and just notice how the weight transfers through your feet. Note if there's tension or strain anywhere in the feet, the ankles, the knees, or the hips. This is just an opportunity to gather some information about what the experience is. So if we know there's tightness somewhere, that can give us hints to maybe where we need to do some work or pay some attention to. You can try both directions. Good. And then we'll come back to standing. Tripod feet, finding the center of the heels, the base of the big toes, and the base of the baby toes. Now, if you have a ball, we're going to bring it under your foot. So I'm using a yoga tune-up ball. You could use a tennis ball, a little bouncy ball, a rubber ball. Some people use lacrosse or golf balls. I find those are a little bit too hard and they don't have a lot of give. So if you're using something that's really stiff, don't press down too hard because you don't want to bruise the bottom of your feet. And if you need to hold on to something for balance, situate yourself by a chair or a table. And we're just going to work on rolling out the bottom surface of one foot. So you can work along the inside edge, down the middle, on the outside edge of the foot, the heel, and across the ball of the foot. So you control how much pressure you press down. And if there's a spot that feels really tight or really sore, you can press and hold into that spot until it starts to dissipate a little bit. And don't forget to go under the toes. Oops. Sometimes, yeah, it'll get away from you. And you can spend a couple of minutes on each side, really working through the bottom of the foot. So this can help release some tight spots, and it can also help provide kind of a nice place to work from. So once we release some of that tightness and bring more feeling and sensation into the feet, then we can follow up with some more movements and exercises, because now there's a greater awareness or a greater sense of presence in the feet. Let's switch sides, shifting the weight into the other foot and rolling the ball. If you don't have a ball, you could use a wooden dowel or a broom handle, and you would just place it horizontally underneath your foot and roll back and forth. And also doing the edges, down the middle, and the inside edges of the feet. I remember there used to be a time when this would be super, super painful for me. So I'm actually really pleased right now that this is not too bad. Going across the balls of the feet. Easy breath while you do it. Underneath the toes. And if there's any spots that you want to press and hold into, all right, let's finish up that side. Then you can set your ball off to the side. And let's come back into standing again, feeling the 3 points of the feet again. Maybe your experience now is slightly different. Maybe there's new sensation in your feet or in your legs. One of the really cool things is when you release the bottom of your feet, you get a whole release through the whole back line of your body. So if you have tired, achy legs, sore hips, or a sore back, rolling out the feet can be a really nice temporary relief. Okay, so now that our feet are a little bit more supple, let's try this. Keeping your toes down, lift just the big toes. And then let the big toes come down, press the big toes down, and lift all your little toes. So this might be really challenging for some of you if you have a tendency for your feet to roll out or roll in. So just play, like if it feels like it's impossible, it doesn't have to be a big lift. Just keep breathing and just keep exploring. Be really compassionate with yourself. Be really gentle with yourself, because it's not something that we do all the time, right? It takes practice, it takes being curious and just exploring. All right, maybe give your toes a little scrunch against the floor. And then we're going to go into some heel raises, and we're going to do it a little bit differently than maybe you've done in the past. So I want you to see, as we do it, keep these 2 points, right? The base of the big toe and the base of the baby toe evenly grounded. So let me go to the side here. I'm going to lift up the heels and then slowly lower down with control. And if you need to hold on to something, you can. I'm going to lift up and then slowly coming down. And so the slower we go, the more we start to feel. And you might notice little movements through the ankles as your body kind of recalibrates, finding its balance and where it is in space. if this is really easy for you, as you come up, come down slowly, and don't touch all the way down. Just before the heels touch, come back up again. Don't quite touch down, and come back up. Let's do one or two more. And then if you want more challenge, if it feels like it's appropriate for you, you can bring one foot so the toes kind of tuck behind the heel, and you can try lifting one at a time. And then you can try the other side. So doing one at a time is more challenging, so you might not do quite as many, or you might feel a little bit of fatigue from the previous exercise. Oops, that's a little bit too big. There we go. And then come back to standing. Notice what you feel in your feet. How do they connect with the ground? How do you feel through your legs, your hips, and your back? You might even come back to pressing the legs into the hands again and seeing if anything has changed or if it feels the same. So those are some fun little feet exercises that you can explore and play with. And I'd love to hear what your experience is like and if you have any questions. Have a great rest of your day.